дојдовте во NovAsnom. Во овие жешки топли денови приказните што ние македонците ги среќаваме на улица се толку различни што како распространети низ целиот свет, доста од нив доаѓаат овдека и тие приказни се мешаат. Меѓутоа денеска ви носам еден гостин кој има многу необична приказна зад себе, а кој веќе 7 години живее во Македонија. Баба му и дедо му се од Егејска Македонија, избеглици како резултат на погромот што се случи врз нас македонците во почетокот на минатиот век, 20-тите години, и израснате со баба и дедо македонци. Веќе 7 години живее во Македонија и своите пензионерски денови ги поминува овдека, се уште творејки. Денес имам чест да ви го представам мојот драг гостин, господинот Рас Стајаноф. И јас од сега натаму ќе продолжам да зборам англиски, затоа што и Рас се доаѓа од англиското говорно подрачје. Hi Russ, how are you?
So good to see you.
Good to
Good
see
to
you
see
too. Yes.
Thanks for having me.
Oh yes.
I understood most of that. I just want you to know.
Nice.
I'm not completely illiterate.
No, I know that you understand.
Well, 80%.
Yes, and that's great.
Illiterate.
Absolutely. I mean, when I met you, your story just fascinated me. Lots of people want, want to get out of here, although in the last couple of years they've been trickling down, coming back. But you've been here for 7 years.
7 years.
And you're doing how like how are you liking it?
Well, I've traveled. I was an international teacher and I taught all around the world.
Yeah.
Right. And my wife and I and several cats who flew. They didn't fly first class, but they flew along with us. We would vote. Well, the two-legged ones would vote every year whether or not we would stay.
Yes.
Wherever we were. And it had to be unanimous. If it was a tie, well then...
You would stay in that place where you live in,
right?
Yes.
But it had to be unanimous to leave. So we did the same when when I was in Central America, and then I was in the Far East in Japan, and then from Japan came here. Which was a lot of people listening when I say this will go, what? And to me, it was a dream to come.
Nice.
What? It's like the guy from Immigration.
Yes.
And so it was a dream to come. And we vote every year. We would vote every year. And now we don't even vote. And of course,
just understood that you're staying here.
Yeah, it's here. You know what I mean? And my wife would say the same. If she was sitting here, she would tell you. It's the people that keep us, the people that just, and all of our friends, are all the reasons that you hear that people are leaving. I think it's because we have context.
Nice.
Of being elsewhere.
Oh.
And I think if I could get as many Macedonians as possible on a bus, and drive them to Panama, it would get wet. But, just take them there, or take them in Central America, take them around. They would find out that, as Dorothy said to the wizard, there's no place like home. I mean, grass always looks greener on the other side.
Every time.
And I know I opened myself up to lots of criticism. Oh, sure, he can say that. Well, I've lived elsewhere, whereas a lot of people haven't, and I can do a comparative analysis based on cost, not only just cost of living, but based on quality of life and some quality of life. And I go through the same when the electricity goes out or the water goes out or whatever the deal is. It's nothing like it was in, Central America and even in Japan. Japan is an interesting place. We have lots of Japanese stories. Japan's an interesting place, and it's neat to be there. But I don't know. Some people can live there, and many people can't. It's very rigid.
How did you come up with the idea to move into Macedonia?
It was totally by accident, if you will. I mean, it was
Mm-hmm.
very by accident. I had a colleague in Japan, and she was looking forward to going. Always we were talking about what's your dream job. One day, after about 5 years, we'd been there. It was like, what's your dream job? Her dream job was to go to like a private school in Switzerland. I mean, she had it all. You could see the mountains and the snow and the slopes. And she's a private school where she would live as a dorm, like a resident hall assistant, right? She'd live in the dorm, and it's an all girls school, you know. And that's her dream job. Well, she got her dream job. It was amazing. It took a couple of years of looking, but she got her dream job. And she lasted a couple, just maybe 2 years, and then she was, poor thing, was done with it. During the time that when she got the job, then she said, "I'm going to be looking for you." And one of the we have our own like journals and papers and what have you that come out where headhunters are looking for people, and there was an ad here, and she said, "What if I told you that there was a private school, you know, in Estonia that's looking for somebody?" And I went, I've looked. I said, I've checked them out. I've looked online. They're not hiring, and there must be a reason. So, yeah, sure, right. He goes, well, I have it. It's right here. And one thing led to another, and boom, I was there.
That's nice.
And
And this was 7 years ago, right?
7 years ago, yeah, 7 years
Wow.
ago.
Are you still at that school?
No, I've retired.
Now you retired.
Yeah, I lasted longer there than most. My my idea was that one day I would be able to retire and work on my doctoral dissertation.
That's nice.
To
And now
complete.
you're working on your.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
yeah.
great.
Chapter by chapter.
That's
No,
great.
Malku po Malku.
Malku po malku, yes.
So
Now,
that's what we're doing.
going back to your roots and
Yeah.
and yourself, actually, what's your educational and professional background? Just to our audience.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm a by training. I'm a historian. I'm a degreed historian.
Nice.
You know, I always heard from somewhere that he who dies with the most degrees wins. So I really took that to heart.
Yes.
But
How many are we talking about?
I have a 2-year degree, an associate's degree in history.
Oh.
Actually, it was an associate's degree in social sciences. And I graduated from my high school when I was 16.
Nice.
So I was a year or so ahead.
Almost
And
two. Yeah.
they wanted me out. They just wanted me out. And so I graduated early. It was a work at your own rate school. It was called modular study. It was an advanced kind of concept for a public high school. It was a public high school. They were toying with this concept. And in those days, we had a bunch of hippies that had come off the streets, and they were teaching, of course, because that's what they could do. And they were an interesting teaching group. It really was. And there was really some progressive ideas about education. At any rate, I graduated at 16 from that school, that interesting high school, and went on to a 2-year junior college, if you will. Got an associate's degree there. And then by then I was like 18, almost 19. And I wanted to see what the world looked like. So I was walking down the street, and I saw this sign, on the sidewalk, like you do. And it was this guy with a white beard, and he had this hat with stripes and a star in it, and he was pointing. And it said something like, "I want you." And so I thought, well, what the heck? Let's see what this is like. And I joined the army. And I was stationed in in Germany, in West Germany. That tells you how long ago that was. I stayed in the army for about 10 years.
Nice.
And when I left the military, every school that I could attend, and I'm talking military schools, and strategic planning and leadership and what have you. I did all that training, and then it was time to, I was going to go back. So I went back to school for my bachelor's degree.
Nice.
And I had gone to a school for a year and then left it to join the military, right? Had left to join the military. And I was going to go back there and start again. And I did. And it was interesting because the dean of the school, the dean of the arts and sciences department, had gone from being dean to being the president of the university in the 10 years. He did really well. And he had, and I had had a discussion when I was leaving, and he was saying, are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, I want to go see what the world looks like. Well, I'm going to go see the world. And off I did, off I went. So I finished a bachelor's degree in history there at the school. And then from there, I did a master's degree in military history. I was in the very first class of a school that was doing it. It's Norwich University in Northfield, Vermont. And I was in the first class, and I was with some really interesting, unique people who were field grade military officers from the Army and from the Navy. There was Department of Defense people there. There were, I mean, just all, I mean, they were doing their education, advanced degree. They were doing a master's in military history so they can move on. So there's some federal employees, and then there was teachers. And I was one of the teachers, I was just one of those people that would, be in teaching. I went for my master's degree, and I finished a master's degree there, and then did another master's degree from a school in Virginia in European history.
That's nice.
With classics being part of it. Romans and Greeks and Romans and Hellenes, and we did that. And then a doctorate in history comes after when I retired. And so, I mean, it wasn't a week I retired. I knew that's what I wanted to do. And the week I retired, I applied, and somehow they thought I was worthy.
So you're doing your doctoral degree here in Macedonia.
I am.
What's the theme?
The dissertation is on the Macedonian deportations of 11 March 1943. It's the deportation of Jews during that period of time, and it has to do with the Macedonian Holocaust. I mean, that's basically what we're calling it, is the Macedonian Holocaust, March 11, 43. And this has been done. The dean of all, which was Yugoslavia at the time, and there was no such thing really as Holocaust history. Alexander Matkovsky was a historian. I mean, actually, he was an Ottomanist at the National University, right? And he was an Ottomanist, and he did histories of ethnic groups, and he did the history of the Ottomans here, and his tour de force was the history of Macedonian Jews.
That's great.
So, anchoring on Stoby, looking at that, there's three. I don't want to bore you with it, but there are three possibilities of how the Jews arrive here and how they end up being one of the oldest ethnic groups living here. And the reason I focused on them is because they're an important part of the Macedonian historical tradition. And not just for the horror of 11 March or the three transports that left in 43, but how far back they go and who these people were. They came long before 1492, 1494 in the Spain, the Spanish and the Portuguese kicking out the Jews during that time. They go back second century, first and second century, and as the excavations at Stoby have shown us. But those two synagogues, one on top of the other, that sit down in Stoby, was all very interesting to look at, and then to really study them and understand them and what they mean. That there were all kinds of communications going all through Macedonia, and the Roman world that put them there and anchored them there. So that's why I'm looking at that. And you have to start. The reason I'm even talking about this is because it's like the first couple chapters of the dissertation are there. So we want to anchor them solidly and then move to that. And then my question really is, to what extent does this history affect Macedonian historical traditions and institutions? I mean, this is a key point in history, and how important is it? And we see all kinds of unique. How unique was it? Of course, the Holocaust was it. You can't paint it with one brush. Hitler and Himmler and company did really good work here, and wiping out 98% of the population, the Jewish population, and destroying communities that, Shtip, Bitala, as well as here. Probably since the first century. So I mean, they really did good work, and there's a whole story behind it. It's really tragic. But
when do you expect your work to end? Your dissertation and doctoral work?
I think my wife would like it to end next week. And I think she'd want it to be over pretty soon because I'm wrapped in this. I'm working on it. I've been doing about 6 years of research.
That's great.
Is now culminating in the writing of this.
How far are you at?
Oh, I'm just putting it all the research has now been organized, and it's all a matter of, putting those. Anybody that's done a dissertation, what I'm talking about, is getting it organized. And, when you're doing research, it's not knowing, the important thing is not knowing when to start, it's knowing when to stop, because you can continue on and go, ooh, that's good. Oh, look at that. And I have to tell you, the archives here are incredible. I mean, there's, the archives here are pretty interesting. The experience has been very interesting, and they've been very helpful. The people don't have the highest technology to work with, but you know what? They'll bust their behinds in helping me, find things that I'm looking for. And
so how do you find the living in Macedonia?
We are living here in Centaur. We came, from the deep in the suburbs of Kozle initially, and if you want to be where it is, it's here in the city, and that starts a whole other argument. But I mean, my wife and I prefer it. I find, again, friends, most of our friends and people that have adopted us into a family live in this area. So that's very helpful. I find services to be very good. I don't want this going out to a lot of potential retired people. Let's just keep this in the country between us.
Oh, so it stays good.
We want to keep it quick, But all the things you look for, medical resources, doctors, optometrists, dentists, or at my ripe old age, orthopedic, the best orthopedic surgeon ever is here. And we bounced over a couple dentists, to find the right fit. And this is what you do. And so we found the right fit, I guess.
That's great.
But so medical wise, I think also the predictability of things like weather. When it's time for winter to end, it ends because the next day is spring, and then there's no fooling around. we don't gradually slide into summer. It's summer.
Yes.
So we go from, that's beautiful, sweet spring weather into heat
Yeah.
as it is. Today is just a
Another day for that.
harbinger
Oh
of
yeah, I
things to
remember
come.
being in Canada waiting for the summer to come. It's an ordeal of 3 months.
It's a long way.
Back and forth,
Canada.
and it's just, and those June days when you think, okay, it's all over, and you wake up in the snow-covered grass.
The only people I knew from Alberta. That's where you were, right? In
Yeah, I was in
Calgary, right?
Calgary.
The only people I knew from Alberta had blonde hair and blue ears because it's so cold.
Yes.
I mean, it's yeah. You have to be strong.
Oh yeah, February comes, -37, wind chilled.
And what nobody knows really, unless you can put it in the map in your head, is that there's more people who live even farther north.
Yeah.
They live in Edmonton. It's like, why? It's like, why? And I think I told you I was in. I drove.
Red Deer is.
From Minnesota, from Georgia up through the U.S. into Minnesota, and then made a left. In Manitoba. And I went up to see a friend in Red Deer. I was in the army with. As an Indian guy who was a Native American. He was an Indian, and he lived there on a reservation there, and they can cross the borders, freely.
Yeah.
So, and his last name was Two Elk. It was really interesting. I saw a guy today at the bank in the Macedonian army, and I was reading his name, which of course is Cyrillic on his name tag on his uniform. And this friend of mine's name, it was an Indian, and his name was Richard Two Elk. 2-Elk. Richard Two Elk, and there's probably a Richard Three Bears and whatever, but Richard invited me to come, and we fished on the North Saskatchewan River.
Nice.
Up there, right? And it was just amazing. But it was June, and there was still snow on the side of the road.
Oh yeah, that's normal.
It's normal, isn't it?
I've seen snow in July
and
August.
What's the? Let me ask you a question. What's the name of that the big stadium in Calgary there?
McMahon.
Is that the stadium, the big stadium, right?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Well, there is Calgary Dome.
The Dome.
The Dome, yeah.
Where Cowboys meet hockey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
there. NHL is being played there in the Calgary Dome, but that's inside. 22,000 people around.
Yeah, what a place.
Yeah.
But hockey I've always been part. I have to tell you, when I was in Japan, and I got the note, okay, look, we'd like you to come and kick the tires and come to Macedonia and see. Okay, we'll come. So I even paid for the ticket to go. So we went, and we came here to look. Before we came, my friend came to me and she said, "Hey, what's your favorite sport?" I said, "I really, I'm a hockey kid. I really like hockey. I grew up in the Midwest, in a Macedonian city, the Midwest, and I really like, we had a hockey team. It wasn't NHL rather, an NHL team, but it was a IHL, International Hockey. It was farm teams.
Yeah.
And this was a farm. Fort Wayne Comets were a farm team for the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL. Yeah. Okay. So we'd go and watch hockey. It was hockey, and she said, "Well, look, there. I've got this paper, and it says that in Canada, because I think that there's a massive. I think this is it was in Canada. I gave it away." She said, "Look, there's a Macedonian Hockey League," and I went, "What?" And I went, "Really? Is it in Skopje?" Said, I don't know. I think so, but this is Macedonian Hockey League. And I went, "Oh, that's it. It's a done deal."
Easy.
I mean, it's a super easy decision to make here. Now I was in Toronto or something. It was like that. It was real close by. But there was I just gave them a plug. The Macedonian Hockey League is a farm club for farm clubs that could then go to the NHL.
Yeah.
So it's millionaires in the making.
Yeah.
Right. So
But coming back over here, how strange was it, knowing that you grew up with your grandparents that were Macedonian, and but was it any reminiscence time of your childhood that can
Yes. One thing that comes to mind.
yeah.
I have to tell you one thing that comes to mind. I don't think we were here a week. The bags were still not unpacked yet. And we were, let's get some veggies. And the little green market in Kozle, it's a small enclosed space there. And we walked in, and the aromatic, the atmosphere inside, it smelled like my Baba's. She had a garden that she'd get lost in, because the woman was only 1.5 meters or so. She was 4 feet something, right? 4 feet 11. So put that in the metric system. She wasn't very tall. The tomatoes were taller than she was on the stakes. And you'd come to the house and the front door would be open. Those were days when you could do that. The front door would be open, and you'd say, Baba, Baba. And, she must be in the back, in the garden, in the back. So they made sure they had a nice backyard when they bought this house in the 20s. In the 20s.
When did they come to the States?
Well, legend has it
that
they came right after the First World War.
Okay. So 1918, 1914, 18, something.
Yeah, so 1918. I don't think they would travel during the war. There wasn't a whole lot of refugee travel, but they were forced out of their village.
Which village did they come from?
Well, they came from, initially, my grandfather was from Olica, which is on the other side of the lake, on the east side of the lake. On the northwest side of the lake, there's a little town which it's called Tejillo. And my grandmother was from Tejillo. My grandfather was from Olica. And in between them was a pretty good sized
mountain
rock. And I think maybe my great grandfather was probably heartened by the fact that boy was really interested in my daughter, because he walks that mountain quite often. And it's uphill both ways, So yeah, she made sure she had this nice, beautiful garden, and all the things that you see here, and when you go, and the smells were there. The smell was the aroma of that was so much that it triggered something, and I began to cry. And because I never smelled those veggies, the peppers and the peppers, the tomatoes, and all the the onions and all the things in there that were just fresh and come from the garden, and there's farmers markets in the U.S. all over the place. But they're on such a scale, and they're out where you don't get the real feel. And it didn't matter; it was here. So here I'm in Macedonia. I'm in Baba's garden. I just close my eyes and I could just feel it. And then my wife is like, "What's wrong with you? Are you okay?" She thought I was having an attack. Yeah, I am. I'm having a Baba attack because she passed away in the early 70s, and it just brought her right back. It was really something. So that was important. I think hearing the language again too, because like the Japanese, Macedonians are unique when it comes to a linguistic tradition. Now, indeed, there's Chinese. There's as much Chinese in their language as there is Turkish and other language in Macedonian, right? There's some added words and things that were taken, and some things that were added. Same in Japanese, but it's unique. So nobody else. There's not another country that shares it.
What's that?
So the linguistic tradition, right? So there's like Spanish, for example. Living in Panama, there are different flavors of Spanish and different unique dialects of Spanish, and then, of course, they argue about who speaks the best Spanish, who speaks the worst. Not so here. I don't know that there's too many arguments in Macedonia, but I'm always open to be educated. But who speaks the best Macedonian without going outside the border? So hearing that language, because the only time I heard it was at weddings, funerals, and arguments between the grandparents of a guy who was my size, 198 centimeters. My grandfather was about the same size.
Nice.
Versus his wife, who was, as I said, I mean, if she was
4'11".
yeah, 4'11",
Yeah.
So there was a lot of this, not much of that, but there was a lot of this. And she let him know. But these were people who lived together for, gosh, 19, must have been at least, maybe they married in 1909 and 10, somewhere in there, I think. And then my grandfather passed away in mid-60s, my grandmother in the 70s. They were together for all those years and traveled, talk about travel the world.
Yeah.
So,
And how do you find what are the things that you would recommend to some people that are that lived abroad, Macedonians, who think, okay, yeah, there is a corruption, there is a bad healthcare, there is a bad infrastructure, but you've been here for 7 years and you're a pensioner.
everything's
I know lots of people like in Canada, Australia too, that are our pensioners, but kind of they're afraid to come back here. What would you tell those people?
I don't think there's anything to fear. I mean, fear is that's a pretty strong term, but they probably do. I don't think
They're kind of
they don't want to give up.
wary of coming. Yeah.
What happiness is not going to be based on potholes, or bad streets, or what have you. And we'll talk about corruption in a second. But as far as infrastructure goes, I can take you to a how do we say, developing country that is in the billions in gross national product, in GDP, in the billions, with infrastructure that's poorer than this. I think as a young democracy, if we take 1991 as a starting point, and you take that point to where things are today, and now let's strip that out and then put it in a comparative analysis, if you will, even with United States history, U.S. history, in the same time period. I don't think we'd hear too much about highways and well, you'd hear a lot about roads. I mean, you can read the early 19th century complaints about roads and development, and internal development was not considered to be a government thing. This was not a national government problem. This was not in the U.S. So if you want to fix the highways and you want to fix the roads and you want to fix transportation or what have you, there was big debates about that in Congress, about whose responsibility was it. It was up to local communities to solve their own local problems. National government was not going to get into it. Compared to today, when national government is involved in every aspect of one's life. I mean, over time, the only way to get it done, you have two political parties that would argue about one being for big government and one being not so big government, but they both spend like drunken sailors anyway. So
Yes.
right, but I find that your quality of life, as you reach certain parts of your life, depend on what makes you happy. And I live in Centaur. I hear way too much singing going on the weekends. I watch people from my upper story window, and on my apartment. I watch them go, and people are together, and I notice from my students in school about how families are here and how tight families are, and that's something that in a developed, in quotes, whatever that means, um, in the wealthier industrialized Western places, the close-knit family is something that young people don't grow up with or understand too much. More and more, the percentage slips from what is here. I asked my orthopedic surgeon, good example, who did a residency in Boston. He had his education here. He did a residency in Boston. He wanted to get better training. So he was going to school in Belgrade, and he got a deal to go to Boston. So he did. And he spent like 10, 12 years there. And he was with an ortho group. To be in a group, the group decides who they want based on the technical prowess of that physician. And so they take a vote based on all the people they hire, and he was the best of the bunch, and so they brought him in. And I said, "Well, it's amazing. You're coming from Boston?" "Yeah, I lived in Boston." I said, "God, it's cold up there." He goes, "Yeah, not as bad as Calgary, but yeah, it's cold up there." But he says, uh, "Yeah, we did well." And I said, "So why did you come back to Macedonia?" He said, "Why did I come back? Why everybody comes back. My mother called me and said, 'Come home.'" What? And it was like, only here, only. And he was, "Yeah, Mom said, please, we miss you. We all miss you. Can't you come home?" And so he did. And he makes substantially less money, but pays substantially less in cost of living, I suppose. But he makes substantially less money, but he's doing something in his heart. He's doing it for his own people, which really that got to me and made an understanding. And I'm with my family. He says, "Yeah, I missed family a lot. So it's, family's important." Well, I'm not so, maybe I'm not so jaded to think that Americans don't make that kind of decision either, but fewer and fewer in percentage points. But I know it from having my own kids. We have 7 children, 7. At a certain point in time, I may have sold one to you if the price was right. I mean, depending
Thank
on who
you.
it was,
Yeah.
depending on who was going through those rebellious years. But no, we have great kids, but they are everywhere, and it's very difficult to get everybody together for whatever holiday. Not so much here. It's very easy to do. We all know Skopje is a village. We all know Macedonia is just a little bit bigger village.
Yeah.
So it's a village, and that village fosters family. When you can't depend on anything else, you can depend on your family. And that's interesting. When you come from a country of 300 million people, there are percentages of socio social issues that are on such a grand scale, on a much bigger scale, that have an effect on perceptions and ideas of what a family ought to be like. So I thought family was a big part here. I saw it with my kids, my kids in school, rather, my students, and got to know parents really well. And that was probably the most interesting. I was reprimanded, if you will,
Just being too close with the parents?
yeah, because parent teacher nights were great. Everybody else was like, "Oh, do we really have to? Oh, not that again," because they would. I don't know why they thought 2 in 1 semester was a good idea, but that was their deal. So we would have 2 for some reason, and I was great with it. It was fine because maybe there were some people that couldn't come on the first one, but they would come to the second meeting. And I was there one night. We started at like ran all day, and I was there until 8 o'clock in the evening. And that bothered the director a little bit, saying, "You're spending way too much time with these people." right? How can you spend too much time? You can't. You can't. Getting to know who people were and what was important to them and what they saw for their kids. Of course, parent-teacher nights are the same all over the world. I don't care if you're in Japan. If you're in Japan, think of a student in Japan and all the stereotypes you think about Japanese students. The parents that would come were the parents you didn't need to see, right? It's the same here. Sometimes, a lot of times, the parents that would come are those A students you would have that just were amazing. Who were scholarship kids that came from state schools? So I remember talking to one of my girls going, well, I heard these stories, I mean, they beat you with a stick, She goes, well, they did that, but I learned a lot. Well, then if I'll go get a stick. I'll be right back. Stay here. I'm doing the hardware. I'm going to come back with a stick. Well,
By the time you come back, they all know everything.
Yeah. So, if that's the incentive, but it's really, as far as, I never met more. It's interesting. We'd have kids come from state schools that would come to the private school. And the first 30 days was this incredible transition to where they would go from being very regimented and very polite and very, rules-oriented kind of kids to, second semester you wouldn't even recognize them. They were just like the rest of them. It's amazing what that kind of freedom does.
Well, I really greatly appreciate our conversation. This is, I hope, it will be just the start of several conversation that we might have. You have such a great knowledge in history and everything. Your experience that you outline throughout the world is really eye-catching, and it's really I really commend you for you coming here, doing your doctoral thesis, and researching such an important topic.
I'll have to tell you, there is no perfect place. Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's what L. Frank Baum. His name was L. Frank Baum. Lawrence Baum, who wrote The Wizard of Oz. And what he tried to tell us in writing that kids' book, tell little kids. He wrote it in 1910 or 1911, somewhere there, about the little girl that gets swept away in a whirlwind and sent to this magical place where, But even though it was so magical and so unique, and of course with Judy Garland in the movie, everything goes from black and white to color. That's the first time they used color in film for the Wizard. It was one of the earliest colored movies. Just to show how wonderful and amazing it was. She still tapped her little ruby slippers at the heels and saying, there's no place like home. There is no perfect place. And corruption, if I can just real quick,
Yeah.
corruption is just a matter of zeros. Okay, in Central America, and where I was in Panama, we had police that would sell their honor for us, cassette tape. They'd pull somebody over. And I remember a guy, one of my students, who was late. What's going on? Why are you so late? Because I was driving my grandmother's truck. Police pulled me over, said I was speeding, but I wasn't. My grandmother's truck won't speed. And the guy said, I'm kind of hungry. And he said, look, I don't have any money. I just have an empty wallet right here with my driver's license. I don't have any money. And the guy said, well, what are you listening to? And he said, it was a cassette tape. Grandma had an old car, he said. He hit eject and said, here. The guy said, be on your way. I think another one was a kid from that country that went to school in Arizona, in the U.S. in Arizona. And I met his brother in the food court of the mall in Panama City and said, hey, what's going on with your brother? Didn't you hear? I said, no. I said, oh, we're in big trouble. So what happened? So he got pulled over for speeding by the police, the state trooper in Arizona. And he rolled down the window and handed the guy a $10 bill. I said, this will probably take care of it. And the guy said, sir, can you step out of the car? I mean, what are you doing? Why are you handing me that $10 bill? I said, well, this is a gift. Because that's what you did in his awareness. That's what you did. So he figured he could buy off an $80,000 a year paid state trooper with a $10 bill. Didn't work. He was it was huge trouble. But by the time his parents and he had other people go to court with him, the judge said this was a really stupid mistake. Never been in trouble before. Don't ever do it again. And he learned something that day. But it's just a matter of zeros, isn't it? It's just a matter of zeros. It's something that every country goes through, especially a young democracy will go through. And
I can argue that there is corruption. There is everywhere.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere. I mean, I can imagine it, especially being in such a rigid.
There is no such thing. There is no corruptionless country.
No, a rigid surveillance-oriented place like Japan. You're on a camera everywhere.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, and yet people would do that because it's human behavior, isn't it? It's just human behavior. So you can't regulate.
Just I think it's so much imposed over here, and it's over. It's. There is overly emphasis on it that is, people are looking at that with negativity at its finest, I would say. But corruption is prevalent everywhere.
Couldn't agree with you more. This is why I think I'll have that bus. I'll get that bus, and we'll have it over at the bus station, and it'll say Macedonian World Tour, and just take people to other places where you just stay for a couple, and you'll see a couple months would tell it. I mean, places where you got to pay to get your electric hooked up just for an apartment because you're going to stay. You got to pay to get your water hooked up, a little something, it's sometimes it can be incredible. So, and yet we find it happening in the U.S. where it's illegal transfers and drugs and what have you. There's no perfect place. And wasn't looking for a perfect place. I was looking for a good place. I was looking for a sweet place.
Normal place.
A normal place. You know what? And my wife and I found
although normalcy is a bit now defined differently.
That's whatever you want to call normal. But we found a good place for us, and normal for us, what we would consider to be normal, sweet people. Something? Ask any expat that comes by. Not too many. We don't want them coming. And say, if you needed help with something, where would you get it? I will tell you. I can't tell you if I've needed something, some help with something around the house, or who do I go, or who do you know? It comes like that. I mean, friends will say, what did, Ivan tell you? I said, well, he told me to go see this guy. Yeah, you want to see that guy. You want to see this guy. So I know a better guy than you know a better guy. Or I know, here's a resource, or I'll come over, I'll bring some tools and we'll fix that, whatever it was. So people that would do that. And you know what? My wife and I, when we lived in Atlanta, we lived there for 15 years or something. And we never knew the person on either side of us. We lived in a condominium complex on the ground floor. And we never knew the people next to us. We were attached at the kitchen wall. If you came outside, you just didn't, you do your own thing and that's it. I was the president of a condominium association. I was the president. We had 32 units. I knew maybe 8 people. We got their money, unless we didn't get our monthly payment from them, our condo fees, which we paid for the water and the roofs. All the roofs were the same. We paid for those things as the association does, and you have homeowners associations here too. But I never knew it. We never knew them. Is that a good way to live? I never thought so.
Yeah, people,
my grandparents didn't
people
teach
start appreciating things once they don't have.
That's right.
But the grass is always greener on the other side, and I really greatly appreciate you being here. I'm looking forward to welcome you in the future. Perhaps we can do some history classes,
we'll do it.
Which is great. We have a history like a playlist on our channel. So I'm going to keep in touch with you.
Let's
Thanks.
do it.
Yeah.
Happy to help, and I'll keep you abreast on what's going on with the dissertation.
Oh, absolutely. Looking
Some
for that.
interesting points.
That's
And,
for sure.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Благодарам што ме следевте во овој интересен разговор што го имав со Рас, наш македонец кој живее веќе 7 години овдека, ужива, ја прави својата докторска дисертација во Македонија. До следното јавување ви пожелам се најдобро.